It's not easy being green.
What does recycling mean to me? Well, it means reusing whatever we can so that we don't continue adding more garbage and refuse to the planet.
I recycle because I feel that it's an important principle to be conscious of our environment and be conscious of our impact in the world.
Oh, well, I mean, recycling is very important as far as, the world is concerned, We all have to take our part.
I think it's important to try and conserve unvaluable resources for our planet so that we can make future generations have an easier life.
Recycling means to me that we're saving precious landfill space. We're taking the waste that would be going to the landfill and reusing it and making other products out of that material.
I recycle sometimes.
Yes, I recycle at school, not at home though.
When there's a recycle bin around, I'll throw it in, but when there's not, I don't. I don't find it that pressing of an issue. I'm kind of lazy.
I don't go out of my way to recycle because I just don't think that I should have to. I'm the one who's using the stuff. I recycle when it's convenient.
It's just easier for them just to open up one container and throw it away, which is a shame. And they don't think about the end result of what happens when they throw all that material into the landfill.
We recycle glass, plastic,
paper, metal, plastic, aluminum, glass.
Shoes, coats, jeans, t-shirts. There really isn't anything that you can't recycle or find a place that can reuse the parts.
Recycling, we definitely like to see more of it. It's really a personal thing. It's not, something that people really need to take ownership of. We do about 350 tons a day of solid waste. By the end of the year, we will be somewhere around 130 to 150,000 tons of trash. What we have is a set amount of airspace where we can put the garbage that this community generates into, and every day we use up a certain amount of that airspace. So anything that's diverted from the landfill is conserving that airspace. And once our landfill's filled up, we'll have to site another landfill and start filling that in.
One of the things I'd like to find out more as far as where does it all really go.
I'm assuming that they take some things places and, crush things, but I really can't answer that question.
Heads off to some sort of plant and gets cleaned and then melted down and reused for what it can.
What happens here at the facility is the material come in the big truck, then the truck will go into the tipping room. It'll tip the material out onto the floor, and then we have a loader that'll put it onto the primary sort belt. That material will then go from the tipping room floor up into our first room where we start our sorting process. And we do paper fiber gets pulled out in that room, and then as much of the trash as we can get out of it gets pulled out in that first room. We take in on an average between 50 and 55 tons a day.
Love recycling, especially with hazardous waste here. I mean, you've got your normal recycling of paper and glass and other materials, but to recycle hazardous waste on top of it and keep it out of the landfill is great. Refrigerants we pull out of the refrigerators, the cooling, that can be emitted to the air. We extract those from the compressors in the refrigerators and prevent that emission from happening to the air. Batteries, computers, electronics, light bulbs, all these things have chemicals and man-made harmful chemicals in them that can cause problems in the environment. Eventually, the contaminants from the landfill, if all these things are going to the landfill, will over time leak out of the landfill into and get to the groundwater over time, and soil, and atmosphere.
I personally feel there's a lot of opportunities to do a better job of recycling in Arizona. I think a big focus has to be on more recycling of plastic bags or plastic material in general. Plastic bags are petroleum-based, so they don't completely or totally recycle in the landfill. So it's very important that the plastic bags get recycled in the proper way. It's the plastic bags that actually get tangled up in the recycling equipment unit, shutting or forcing the unit to shut down itself. So as a result of that, it creates a problem and slows down the recycling process of the other materials. I think the biggest opportunity we have with recycling in general is an education process. If you educate the consumer on what is the proper procedure to recycle, that consumer will do it. They just want to know what is the proper procedure to recycle, especially with plastic bags. And a lot of these bags are either recycled into new bags or they're made into playground equipment and Trek stacking. We've ranged between 1,000 tons and 1,300 tons of plastic bags have been recycled through all the grocery stores. And there's 132,000 bags in a ton, so that's a significant amount of plastic bags that have been recycled here in Arizona.
Once we fill those bins out front, they come back here to this pallet. These pallets get filled up. It's a huge amount of recycled product that goes back to the vendors to be used again for future reference. So it's we look at it as from a company standpoint that we're doing the right thing when it comes to recyclables. We want to get the community information out there as far as why we recycle and how big of a deal it is, not only from a plastic standpoint but also a cardboard standpoint. There's just a huge amount of those type of products going through our stores. The more that we educate the public about recycling, the better off, not only from a standpoint of the customers being involved, but it's just the right thing to do for having a clean community.
So it's just simply a change of habit for any consumer. It's just us educating that consumer to be able to make them aware of what is the proper thing and the right thing to do.
It's more cost effective to reuse. Instead of throwing the bottles away each time, it makes more sense just to reuse them. From an environmental point of view, there's an awful lot of energy that's required in producing glass bottles. You have your clear glass, your green glass, your brown glass. You sort it, and then you grind it up and you melt it down again. If you cannot recycle glass within a 60-mile radius of the glass recycling center, it actually consumes more energy than it saves. So recycling glass is not always a good thing. I buy wine from California, I ship it in bulk to Flagstaff, where I bottle it locally and then I distribute it locally. And the consumer buys the bottle at Bash's. They bring it back to the store and then they get $2 for bringing the bottle back.
And everything is pretty seamless from where it comes in at the back door, where it's merchandised on the shelf, to where it goes out the front end. It's been working quite well for us. It's a phenomenal customer draw. Bash's is all about being local. It's all about being family. And family is supporting the place that you grew up in and the people that support you.
Obviously reusing is like the greatest thing we can do, so when we can, we buy things in bulk to reduce packaging. But I would say in Macy's 3-4 times a day we fill up a big 50-gallon recycling bin, take it out to the dumpster. We like to encourage people to bring in their own cups to use so that we're not wasting and keeping everything as green as possible. A disposable coffee cup is not recyclable. It actually has like a little liner inside the cup that makes it not recyclable. The neat thing about our to-go cups is that they are made of recycled materials. We actually offer people a 25-cent discount for using their own mug, and we actually charge 25 cents for using a paper to-go cup. And so I feel like it's definitely just an important part of like the next step the planet needs to take. And so with the amount of cups and things that are piling up in landfills, we just felt like it was the right thing for Macy's.
You might take 10 minutes to eat a bag of potato chips, and that container is going to be in the environment perhaps forever. It might get buried, it might get blown into a tree, but it's going to be in the environment forever because no bacteria have evolved to eat that combination of plastic and aluminum that you buy your chips in.
I think, everyone is really busy, and if it involves another task of taking it somewhere, that's where people get lazy.
So for every trash container, we're going to pair it with a recycling container so that the generator has to think about it before they put it in. Is this the green one or the brown one? And make that conscious choice right there.
That just makes everyone more aware when it's kind of right in their face.
Aluminum cans, of course, we all know are recyclable. Aluminum foil, as long as it's clean, good to recycle. And of course, our plastic water bottles, #1, PET, recycle. Steel cans, ultimately recyclable. This could be a car next week. Recycle it. Mail. This is wonderful, this white paper. Yes, you can do it with the window in there. That's fine. And plain old cardboard. Yes, recycle that too. Here's your newspaper. Perfectly recyclable. Yes, do recycle this. Look at the 3 recycling arrows. You're collecting it, you're remanufacturing it, and if you haven't completed that 3rd arrow of repurchase, that item could stay in a warehouse forever and you haven't really actually recycled it until you've purchased it again. And the whole point behind buying things with recycled content is to complete the loop.
Eventually we run out of resources and you run out of stuff to recycle.
Beautifully, it started out. Wasted worry on tomorrow. Beautiful, it was in doubt. Taking over. Change forever. When will I find life? When there's nothing left to say. Words don't hold the answers, just to give it all away as I breathe. Anxiously wanted out, bound by this, it always needs